Trump has one shot, one opportunity to stop the death of America. One moment with the Freedom Avengers or with DC with y'all. Vivek's palms are sweaty, his next big job gets heavy. There's curry on his sweater already, mom's tandoori. He's nervous but DOD is getting all ready to drop bombs, cause he gon' got the fat with Betty. He goes down, DC crowd cries so loud. He opens his mouth, the words you find just come out. They choking now, we the people joking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, blast. Snap back, DOD, Elon, they spin gravity. Oh, grab bureaucracy, choke, he's so ready. No boast, make it look easy. No, he works at it, he knows he'll push him in. Gotta keep him alive.
John Ventry is a Hempfield resident and former UPS executive running for Pennsylvania lieutenant governor. He's a longtime business leader who previously ran for governor in 2022. Boy, did he look good too. Ventry brings decades of executive experience in security, crisis management, and public affairs across Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Virginia. He draws strong parallels to our beloved President Trump with New York City roots, an executive background. He is a published author and also reality TV, has some experience in that as well. Ventry serves on multiple local boards and is a past Rotary Club president. He strongly opposes socialist policies, which is right up our alley, through his weekly Never Socialist newsletter, which Richard and I both follow proudly. And welcome to the show, John.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Anastasia.
Well, it's great because we've been following you for a long time. You've been a guest host at the Freedom Festival, the Rotterdam Freedom Festival, and certainly we've been following your political career because you certainly are grassroots.
Yeah.
You're not an elitist with all the bells and whistles. And really the folks, they need to know why it is that you are the most qualified to be lieutenant governor, because it's you and one other person.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, Anastasia, that when I looked at what does the lieutenant governor do, I mean, most people don't even know. They know that person's there in case, to step in case something happened to the governor, but they don't know the job responsibilities. So I looked it up and I was actually kind of amazed in the fact that my work resume fits perfectly with the job duties of the lieutenant governor. So, so you'd say, well, what does the lieutenant governor do? So the lieutenant governor oversees the Senate, and you need management experience for that. So I have 26 years of executive management at UPS. I can oversee the Senate. That would be very easy for me to do. So then what else does the lieutenant governor do? They're supposed to handle crises that come up. Well, I was the crisis management director for UPS for Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Virginia. That's like 25,000 residents. And anything that happened, they would call me. Flooding in Charleston, West Virginia, hurricane in Virginia Beach, ice storms in Harrisburg, a bomb threat in Pittsburgh, they'd call me. So I fit perfectly with that. And then the third item would be the lieutenant governor is in charge of the parole board. Well, I have a degree in criminal justice. I was UPS's security director in 6 states for 26 years. So my opponent, he don't have any of that. He doesn't match one criteria of the lieutenant governor. What he is he's an energy attorney. I would gladly make him the Secretary of Energy for Pennsylvania. That's what he's qualified for. He's not qualified to be lieutenant governor. I fit perfectly for what that job demands. And I don't believe we've ever had a lieutenant governor candidate that fits all 3 of the criteria I spoke about, especially in the crisis management team. You don't have a lot of people that have dealt with crises like that. And I'm a perfect fit for it. And I was actually a little surprised when I read it over. I said, wow, forget about the governor. You're fit for the lieutenant governor.
Well, here's the piggyback question to that. As Lieutenant Governor, you'll be working most likely with Stacey Garrity if things go our way.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on that? How do you think you'll be able to work with her?
Yeah, well, I don't want to be an invisible lieutenant governor like you have right now. If you go around and ask people who's the lieutenant governor, they don't know. And if they do name the guy, it's okay. Well, tell me one thing that he's accomplished. They can't name one thing. I'm not going there to have a title and collect a paycheck. I want to work on stuff. And if you look at my 27-point plan, I got a lot of things to work on. That'll keep me busy for the 4 years or 8 years or whatever it is. But yeah, working. I think Stacey Garrity is actually more similar to me than Jason Ritchie. Ritchie just doesn't have the management background where Stacey does. She worked for a large company. I think she understands, well, as treasurer, she understands budgets and finances, and so do I. I mean, you got to remember, UPS, their first commercial was, "We run the tightest ship in the shipping business." I know how to control a budget and hold people accountable. So, yeah, it'd be fine working with Stacey. I think we're a much better fit.
Well, that also brings me to the next question, which is, your plan on affordability, bringing up finances, and being that she has been a great treasurer, I think most people would agree to that. So tell us a little bit more about your plan for affordability.
Yeah, I want to mimic a little bit what Trump did with the Doge group, but we would make it DOSE. We change one letter to Department of State Efficiency. So we would put that in place. And I see really the treasurer heading that up. We're not adding jobs. It's not like we're adding people in to work on this. It's the department heads, it's the secretaries of, and I think the treasurer would be the person that heads that up. But I would immediately look at freezing hiring. Let's freeze this. Shapiro is spending 7% a year more than we take in. He's done that for 3 budgets now. And you can't do that. You can't spend $3.6 billion more than you take in. He's draining the reserve fund, the rainy day fund. You just can't do that. But there's so much you can do to become efficient. So, I would look to right away freeze hiring till we can figure out, where the cuts. Now, we're not going to freeze the state police. We're not going to freeze anything with like nursing or that type of thing. But, I look at the huge increase in school administrators, right? Let the teachers teach. I don't think we need all the administrators that we have. We can make a cut there. I would also rank all the departments in order of importance. Now, the federal government does this. They call it continuity of government. So if you are under a nuclear threat with Russia or China, or there's going to be an asteroid strike or a supervolcano eruption or whatever it is, they have their continuity of government, who gets funded first and who gets funded last. So we need to do that, and that's something as a crisis management director, I know how to do. So, we want to look at the departments that you have to have, and then the others that just get funded because you got extra money, So we want to look at that, and we want to fund it accordingly based on how important is that department.
Like a very effective business or household.
Yeah,
That's what you
yeah.
gotta do.
Yeah, and every company has outsourced. I mean, there's so many things we can do, but even with the efficiency, I want to eliminate property taxes for disabled veterans. But I see they just put bill into that, but I already have it on my plan. It's one of the things that I have on the plan. I want to eliminate that yearly registrations, the fees. I know you could pay 2 years, but let's just do one registration fee when you buy your vehicle or your jet ski, your snowmobile, whatever it is. You pay one fee. When you do this every year, every other year, you're just creating, and it's not a big fee, $26, but then you got to process that. So you're creating jobs, you're creating costs. You don't need that. You just have one fee for registrations. I want to eliminate the sales tax exemption on nonprofits that don't spend 80% on their goal, on their cure. So like I was on the board of juvenile diabetes, and I remember them saying they spend 83% of the money they take in on the cure for diabetes. And 80% has always been that guideline, because a lot of companies, they're big businesses and they have these big balls and banquets and big salaries, but they're really not spending a lot of money on what they said they're trying to fix. So we would take away the sales tax exemption if they're not spending at least 80% on their goal. Like I said, I want to freeze the budget. I want the second main thing I want to do that falls under this is to eliminate the fuel tax. The 58-cent fuel tax, we need to eliminate that. It's a regressive tax. What it really, you think about it, it increases inflation. It increases transportation costs. So I want to get rid of the 58 cents fuel tax, put about $600 back in everybody's pocket. It'll reduce transportation costs. It'll reduce inflation. So, people say to me, well, how are you going to fund the roads and all of that? Well, you just make it a department like any other department. It's a line item in the budget. It's $1.1 billion right now. It's 2% of the budget.
John, here's a quick question on that topic. Sorry to interrupt, but it really does boggle my mind because the tax is higher than New York and New Jersey for per gallon fuel tax. And we have so much oil here and we are drilling, right? So why do we have to pay a higher tax? And where does that money go? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it doesn't all go to the roads. Some of it goes to funds the state police, but that should be a separate item. Here's your state police budget, whatever it is, $300 million. What do you need for roads? $600 million. You just make it a department. But we've increased spending 40% in the last 5 years. The fuel tax is 2%. I can find you 2%. It is so easy to eliminate 2% of the budget when they've increased the budget by 40% in the last 5 years. So getting rid of that is very easy. It's really not a big item, but it puts a lot of money back in people's pockets. And then it reduces inflation. And I think it's perfect. I actually think, and at some point I hope to have a conversation with President Trump, but I think he should get rid of the 18.6 cent federal fuel tax. Now think about that. You get rid of 58 and 18, that's 76 cents a gallon that the price of fuel drops. And now tell me that wouldn't jumpstart the economy, put money back in everybody's pocket, reduce transportation costs. That's what needs to happen. I'm a little surprised he hasn't done it yet, and right now they talk about doing it temporary. No, do it permanent. It's one of the worst taxes you can have is a fuel tax. So I would say, those are some of the things I want to do, but it starts with running like a business. We need to run the state like a business. And you have these staff meetings and you go over cost and you improve efficiencies. And the second thing for me important is to eliminate that fuel tax. It's very important to get rid of that.
John, let me ask you a question. Everything that you're saying, I think makes a lot of sense. Now, my question is the media to me, this should be something that the newspapers should be asking you, discussing with you, letting the voters know about this. Are there any media that is talking to you about your agenda?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I looked my name up, John Ventry for Lieutenant Governor, to see how much coverage I'm getting. And the best coverage was by PCN TV, the cable channel, did a very good half-hour interview like you're doing with me, and we got to say everything. But not everybody gets that cable channel. You got to pay for it, to have that channel. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette has covered me twice. They did a really nice job. My local newspaper here, the Tribune Review in Westmoreland County, I live 3 miles from the headquarters. They haven't covered me yet. I just did an interview with them yesterday. So I'm waiting to see the coverage. Right. Mount Pleasant covered me. I don't think there's 5 newspapers in the entire state that has said John Ventry is running for lieutenant governor. It is so quiet right now.
if you led a No Kings protest, they'd probably be more interested in your.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I actually, years ago, I went down to the courthouse when they were protesting. Me and one of my friends, we stood on the other side of the street waving Trump flags. Not looking to incite a riot.
Okay,
but,
now we know why they don't like you.
yeah. Well, that's it. But the coverage, if you remember 4 years ago when I ran for governor, I mean, I announced the end of June 4 years ago, and by July 4th, I had 25 invitations to speak to patriot groups. There was all kinds of media coverage. And at this point in April, 4 years ago, we already did 4 televised debates. There are no debates scheduled. It's almost as though they look at, well, the other guy's endorsed, it's over. It's not over. I got news for you. I'm going to get the people that voted. I'm the patriot candidate, and I'm the only patriot, running right now. So I'm going to get the people who vote, the MAGA vote, the people who voted for Trump are going to vote for me when they discover me and go to my website, right? I'm going to get the Mastriano vote, the ones that are writing him in right now or voted for him 4 years ago, because I'm the patriot this time. I'm going to get that vote. There are a lot of people disgruntled about the endorsement. I'm going to get the protest vote as far as the endorsement. And if the media would cover me and people would go to my website, vote for ventry.com, you'll see my plan. You'll see 52 reasons not to vote for Shapiro because he's been terrible as a governor. You'll see my similarities to Trump, having grown up in New York. I mean, there's so much out there, but I've got to get some media coverage.
Oh, go ahead, Anastasia.
Yeah, I was going to say, John, being in Harrisburg quite often, we have been following some of the legislation bills, especially related to education. I have been a former Moms for Liberty chair, and Richard for many years has been working in education. And the common sense bill support that you're providing, which is very simple, school choice for the parents, and also reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, okay, and learning about our history, our American history, especially in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, which is the birthplace of liberty, and dare I say, unfortunately, is not really taught in our schools today. This is all common sense, isn't it, John?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. When people said they don't say the Pledge of Allegiance anymore, I said, when did we stop doing that? Well, apparently for a long time, they don't do that. But, that's all part of hating America that comes from the far left and the Democrats, right? You start chipping away, you take away things, you remove for religion, you remove Bibles from schools. There used to be Bibles in classrooms. You take away the Pledge of Allegiance. It's all this chipping away at our culture and what has made us great. And we're going to go back to doing some of those things, and if it's a big problem, the 10 Commandments, there's like 14 states that do that, we could just make it 12 rules to live by, because isn't that what the 10 Commandments are, 10 rules to live by, right?
Yeah,
so
that's a
I'll
great
add
idea.
2. I'll just add 2. Then you can't take me to the Supreme Court and get rid of it, right? So we'll reword them a little bit, but the first one will be the golden rule. Right? Treat people as you want to be treated. And then, we won't say thou shalt not murder. We'll just say, murder is wrong. Don't do it. We'll run through the 10 Commandments. And the 12th commandment, right, because I'm adding 2, is going to be never socialist, because that's my nickname. We don't want socialism. We want capitalism. We want people to keep what they earn. And it's capitalism, home ownership, marriage is the greatest thing for a country. That's how you're successful. And you got to have kids. If you don't have kids, you bring people in from other countries and you lost your culture and your heritage. And that's what's going on right now. So, I'm full of ideas, and that's definitely something I'm going to do. And Trump brought out this 1776 education at the end of his first term. And it was basically just teaching, our history, the truth about America, the truth about slavery. And, I haven't really heard that from him this time around, but I love the idea. And that's what we're going to do, is put out 1776 education. The whole thing with slavery that comes up, the founders didn't believe slavery was going to last. But the problem they had was they're fighting the British for independence. If they say no slavery, you lose all the southern states. You can't have or they side with Great Britain. They couldn't take it on. They had to beat England first. So there's a lot of reasons for a lot of things that happen.
It's very easy to judge the past and condemn them and I mean you're sitting in your home in front of your TV or whatever and you're judging the past when none of us lifted a finger to help in the revolution. I mean,
right.
The amount of ingratitude is just unbelievable.
Yeah, well, that's how the Democrats spin everything, And actually, it was only 3% of the people fought in the revolution. 97%, sat home, right? They turned the other cheek. They were farming and had their head in the sand. But, more things about education that's important is we spend $25,000 per student to go to public school. Think about that. That's more than I paid at Penn State for my son to go each year. $25,000 to go to public education. It's fifth highest in the country. It's 38% of the budget. 38% of the budget is to go to public school. I think there's a lot of other things we should be doing. It's way, way too high and out of proportion. And, like I said, all businesses outsource. That's been going on for 30 years. So the education department, this teachers union, it's a giant monopoly. They took money away from cyber schools. We should have been adding money to cyber schools. Anything that keeps you from going to the public school, homeschooling, cyber schools, Catholic school, well, I guess there's synagogue school, all of those are about $8,000 a student less expensive than going to the public school. So think about it. Why wouldn't you want your kid to go to one of these private schools? And we could always cap it. So it's always $8,000 less. The most we'll pay is $17,000 per student, let's say, instead of $25,000. But it makes so much sense. You want them going to the private schools. You don't want them going to the public schools. And when they go to the private school, we're no longer paying the pensions, the medical for the teachers and those employees. It's such a cost savings. Those private schools also, they have less students per class. They average 14 students per class. Our state law says 20 students per class. Well, the private schools are 14. I mean, there's so many reasons not to go to public school, to downsize public school and give people the choice. Part of the choice is you can go to that school over there that's 8 miles away instead of your high school that's 3 miles away, if that's what you want. And then we got to figure out how to, the buses go an 11-mile route is what they have, 11 miles from the school. So it has to fall in there. We're not going to pay for you to go 50 miles away because you want to be in the most expensive community, let's say. But there's so much we can do with that. But the teacher spending right now. And then what's really important is where do we rank in results? We rank number 41 in the 3 Rs. So we're fifth highest in spending and number 41 in results. Come on, if you were running a business and that was your results, you would do something about it. And I'm going to do something about it. And it makes perfect sense. It's better for the kids. The choice is always better, and we're going to reduce the costs.
And there's a lot of data to support that.
Right.
You look at Florida where the taxes follow the child, whatever price they want. So what happens? You don't want to send your kids to public school. Well, now the public schools have to raise the bar for them to compete against public school. It builds competition. So not only do you provide choice, but you're also raising the bar. So that's all common sense because that's built on the idea of capitalism, isn't it? You decide what you want to purchase, supply and demand. And if you're not building the goods that's good enough for me to buy, to invest in, then I'm doing it.
Yeah. But there's one problem. There's one problem with that.
Yeah.
You can't indoctrinate kids if they have choice.
Absolutely.
Those are the Marxists.
Think about all the new high schools being built. You know, you don't need to build any more new buildings, right? If they're outsourcing and going to private schools, you like where I live right here in Hempfield, they're jumping for joy. They're going to spend $120 million on a high school instead of 150. And I got news for you. You know, the prior bid was 150. This guy came in at 120. I guarantee you it's going to be 150 to 160 when it's done. You ain't getting the high school for 120. It's not going to happen. But you don't need to even build them if people are being outsourced their choice to go to a private school. Better results. And, you know, like Elon Musk was homeschooled. And my son, you know, and his wife, they homeschool the kids. And, you know, he says to me, Dad, you know, your grandkids are exposed to stuff way beyond what the public school agenda is to teach to the average student. He's learning about other things that he won't get to in public school for 3 or 4 years.
That's incredible. And again, they want people to be average. I mean, and you think about it, they don't want excellence. Look, kids are not all the same. Some are very talented in arts or music or athletics, or many different ways. They don't want that. They don't want to invest in that. It's really sad.
Yeah. Well, they teach to the average, you know, and they spend more time trying to get the slower kids to catch up. And then the smarter kids are sitting there saying, I got this. You know, I'm sitting there and, you know, let's move on to something else, you know. So there's so many reasons why we need to fix public education. Arizona has a great program, too. You know, Nevada, a lot of them, you know, it's the money follows the student, or they have certain caps and stuff. It's absolutely the way to go.
Yeah. Let's go back to finances for a second, because I have a question for you that really intrigued me. And honestly, I haven't read about this from any other candidate. So tell us a little bit more about how you would cut electricity rates by 30% by building fossil fuel power plants. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, well, you know, this whole thing with my gas and electric through the winter here in my house was $750 to $800 a month, 3 months in a row. About probably $2,500 I spent for 3 months just on gas and electric, mostly to heat the house, you know. And this whole increase started after COVID, you know, with the green policies. And just, as soon as they started, Wolf and Shapiro started disabling the coal plants for electricity, that's when we got the increases in our rates. And they have doubled. They have doubled since COVID. So again, how hard is it to, when something doubled in price, how hard is it to reduce it? It's not that hard. I mean, what we need to do is, I see all the time about clean coal now. It's not the old plants. You can build clean coal, right? The thing we're really missing also, you know, we've got all of the fossil fuels, but the cheapest way to go is nuclear. Nuclear is 4 times cheaper than fossil fuels and 8 times cheaper than solar or wind. So that's the way to go. And, you know, all of these data centers, they have small nuclear reactors now. You know, they're not 3 Mile Island monstrosities. They have these small reactors. So you want to build a data center, fine. You know, they're ugly buildings. They don't employ a lot of people. They need water. So you go up the river, you know, you build a building 30 miles outside of town, and you provide your own power. Those companies need to power their own plants by either building a clean coal or using, you know, natural gas or a nuclear reactor. That's how you do it. But, you know, I want to power Pennsylvania first, and we've got the resources to do that. We also have the resources to power the world. I like to say PA powers the world. First, we've got to take care of ourselves so the prices don't go up. But then the excess we can ship over to Europe, and we can power the world. And that's what we should be doing. And, you know, the Democrats are anti everything that has made Pennsylvania and this country successful. They are anti everything. And this whole energy issue we have falls squarely on Shapiro because they dismantled the coal plants and they keep throwing money into green technology, which I don't believe those windmills work. And I don't know if you know, there's a diesel fuel contract that those windmills turn on diesel fuel. I'm going to eliminate the diesel fuel contract, and let's see how many times that windmill is actually turning and producing without the diesel fuel to get it going or give the appearance as you're driving down the turnpike. Oh, look, it's turning. It ain't no wind. How's it turning? Do you know what England does with the windmills when the blades fly off, which happens? You see it in the news. The blade went flying off. Those things are like 70 feet long, or the plant breaks down. They take the blades, they grind them up, and they add it to asphalt, and it makes the asphalt that much stronger. So we've always had a pothole problem, right? So now we dismantle these windmills, we take the blades, we grind them up, we add it to the asphalt, we fix the potholes. There you go. I just fixed two issues with one.
You've got my vote there.
I mean, that's how creative I am. I'm creative just like Trump. Really, I'm telling you. I'm always thinking outside of the box.
What is Kyle's law for self-defense? What is that?
Yeah, if you remember during the BLM riots, Kyle was I think he was 18 or so at the time. He had an AR, and some guy tried to take it from him. We actually tried to shoot him and take his, and he shot the guy. I think he hit him in his forearm or something. He didn't kill him. But what Kyle's law is, it protects you when you're involved in self-defense. It protects you from all the civil lawsuits and penalties. Right. Because a lot of times that will,
right?
Yeah, Kyle Rittenhouse. That's the thing that they'll get you on, even though you were justified. Then they take you to court and they bankrupt you.
Yeah.
So Kyle's law is important. We need to have that. And the other thing to go, since we're talking about firearms, is I want to eliminate the sales tax on ammunition. Now think about that. All the people that go to gun ranges, all the hunters, ammunition's really gone up in price over the last 5-6 years. So, we're going to eliminate the fuel tax. We're going to eliminate the sales tax on ammunition.
Okay, the leftists are not going to be happy about your policy. I'll tell you.
Well, I take a lot of pleasure in raising the blood pressure of progressives and leftists. I really do.
I'm going to invest in blood pressure medication if you're elected, when you're elected.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen with the Save America Act? Because I know you're a big supporter of repealing the Act 77. So what are your thoughts? I mean, no one has a crystal ball, but where do you see this going?
Yeah, we have to get it. And, they keep, you look at the numbers, it's like 85% of the public wants voter ID. 71% of Democrats want it. 71% of African Americans want it. Overall, it's like 85%. But the Democrat Party won't do it because they need a way to harvest ballots. And if you don't have voter ID, and right here, they're protesting. They want the drop boxes put back. You don't need drop boxes. You don't need satellite centers that are open 3 months before the election, and you're not allowed to go watch because it's technically not a voting poll. So it's something we have to have. And, I go even a step further. Is you have to have your driver's license or some form of ID. But I've been saying for years now, non-citizens that are given driver's licenses, why isn't the driver's license green, like a green card? So you go to vote, let me see your driver's license, you pull out a green, you can't vote. They tell me there's a dot or something on the license that alerts them that that's not a citizen. Make the license green. To me, it's such common sense. It's total common sense. Brilliant. But we need it, and we've got to get it. And, federally, I don't think we're going to get it. Because you need 60%, because the Democrats are fighting it, you need 60%, and it's extremely hard to get 60%.
I think with the Supreme Court, I mean, this has happened for a reason, right? That this was brought to the Supreme Court. And for many of our esteemed judges to say election day, I mean, that's what our Constitution said. I think there's a case being built up. It's not just the support. I think the battle against illogical governance, which is your extreme left, which has become the entire Democratic Party. I mean, who'd have thunk that Fetterman would be the voice of reason in the Democratic Party? And I mean,
I'm
it's the world has gone mad.
I'm still skeptical of him. You know, that's like your Trojan horse, that all of a sudden he's using the stroke to do a complete reversal. I'm not so sure that's the real Fetterman if he were to get to a higher office than what he is already. You know, so yeah, I mean, we need that. You know, Europe and Russia tried mail-in ballots years ago, and Russia got rid of it, and 64% of European countries got rid of it. They went back to voter ID because of the fraud. And, you know, when I ran for governor 4 years ago, we did debates. And in the third debate in Lawrence County, it was actually, the debate was in Newcastle, but the final question was, did Joe Biden win legitimately? There were 15 candidates. All the 14, luckily I was the last one. The other 14 all said, you got to accept the results. There's nothing you can do about it. It got to me, and I said, Joe Biden did not win legitimately. Joe Biden is not my president. I said, Democrats cheat. They harvest ballots, and that's why, you know, they don't want voter ID. I got a standing ovation, and Jason Ritchie was there. He was the first one to say, there's nothing you can do about it. Well, I'm not interested in people who can't make things happen. I'm interested in people that make things happen. I got the standing ovation. I won the debate. You know, Dave White and Melissa Hart and a few others said to me, oh, you won another debate, because I won all the debates, you know. So then the fourth debate was in Butler the following weekend. Jason Ritchie doesn't show up. I guess he don't like losing, and he's going to lose again.
Wow.
And I've got to face you face to face, right? There's no other.
Oh, I don't think he would debate me. I do not think he would debate me after what happened 4 years ago.
You think your campaign is working on getting as many debates with him? When does that happen?
I'm talking to people, you know, if they want to put one together, but you got to get him to show up. You know, I asked, Blair County was, I think, the second debate. I asked them, and he goes, well, with two candidates, we're probably not going to do a debate. I said, why not? You know, but I think this endorsement thing is, so many people are saying it's over because of the endorsement, but they're total lackadaisical right now. They're not looking at me. They're not planning how to beat me. I am going to surprise them on May 19th, because like I said, I get the Patriot vote, I get the Mastriano vote, I get the MAGA vote, I get the disgruntled endorsement vote, and I win.
Well, that's incredible.
Yeah,
Actually,
that's the way I see it. I absolutely see it that way.
I'd like to ask you about your proposals regarding the sheriff's police powers and also limiting welfare.
Yeah, well, you know, I think the sheriffs are underutilized. And what I want to see is there's a group out there that's supposed to be investigating what happened in Minnesota, welfare fraud, you know, these nursing homes and care centers and all of that. And I saw recently it's way underfunded. But welfare fraud in Pennsylvania is the fifth highest in the country. It's up 165%. Who's investigating it? Very few cases. And what motivates Shapiro to investigate his base, which is doing the frauds? He's not investigating it. Think about it. Those are his people. You know, and I guarantee you in Minnesota, the Democrats were showing the Somalis how to game the system. I'm totally convinced of that. So I want to see the state police, even though it's not their area, I want to see them assisting, whether that's the attorney general, whoever it is. I want to see the state police doing investigations. You know, they don't need to be out giving tickets. They should be investigating. And we can utilize sheriffs to do some of this other stuff. You know, sheriffs in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh have a lot more power than the other 65 counties. I want to give more to the sheriffs to do. I mean, they can give out tickets. I'm not a big fan of tickets because I think tickets just as a revenue generator. I don't think it does a whole lot to change behavior. But I want to utilize sheriffs and I want the state police investigating because we're fifth highest in the country on fraud, and 90% of that fraud are Democrats.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I like the fact that you're willing to tell it like it is. I mean,
Yeah.
that to me is so refreshing.
Well, I'm Trump-like. I tell the truth.
Exactly.
And you're a New Yorker.
And yeah, I grew up in New York. You know, as a kid in Queens, there we all knew his name. I never met the man, but you know, it was like the Great Gatsby. He was on the rich North Shore. I was on the poor South Shore. You know, and the twain never met. I never met the guy, but one day I will. I need to get elected. You know, I'll convince him to get rid of the fuel tax. But I am so similar to him. It's incredible. You know, I'll tell you a quick story. When my daughter discovered Trump in 2015, she texted me and she said, "Dad, Trump is you." Right. And then my son replied back. He said, "Dad's tougher than Trump." Well, I tell you, at UPS, man, I was head of security. When I walked into a facility, they were shaking in their boots. They knew I was there to terminate or arrest somebody. And that's the stuff that Jason Ritchie doesn't have, you know, where I can run the parole board easy.
Well, that's incredible. You know, I hope people really take the opportunity to go to Never Socialist USA at gmail.com to contact you. And also, more importantly, go to your website at info@vote4ventry, number 4ventry.com, and
Yeah,
see the results.
Yeah, the website is voteforventry.com. Yeah, the
Vote
info
for
is
Ventry.
the info is like the email address. So it's voteforventry.com. That's the important one. But you know, you mentioned the Never Socialist website, and I'm the only candidate that's recruiting. This is for years now. I recruit Asians and Hispanics to the Republican Party. So show me somebody else doing that. Nobody, right? I've been doing this since COVID, and you know, I got the idea from Candace Owens because she had Blexit, right? So she was recruiting African Americans to the Republican Party through Blexit. I originally named that site Hexit for Hispanics and Exit for Asians. And then I stopped paying for those websites and I called it just Never Socialist USA. But I got all the reasons why they should be Republicans. And you think about it, you know, Hispanics, Latinos, they're Christian. They're a lot closer to American values. They're very family oriented, hard workers. The same thing for Asians. Everything you look at, you know, violent crime, out of wedlock births, high school graduations, Asians are on the top of the list, you know? So you want to recruit Asians, and they should be voting Republican. You want to recruit Hispanics and Latinos, right? They're very similar in beliefs to Republicans. To me, it's a no-brainer, and I've been doing that since 2019.
Let me show your flyer here.
Yeah, that's good.
This is it shows the website here and your, you know, the four areas of your reform efforts. And let me see if I can get the other one too.
Yeah, the front one is my resume.
Right. Yeah. So this
But you even see on the back part there, I paid for that billboard. You see it up in the top right corner. I paid a year, 12 months, Never Socialist billboard in West. It said Westmoreland, Never Socialist, right? And I did that in 12
right here.
That was a real billboard in town here. I paid for it for 12 months to help Trump in the 2020 election. So I say, if you like my billboards, you'll like my plan.
Okay.
Good point.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate what.
I was going to say, if you look at the front part where you have my resume, you see all the boards and charities and different groups that I've been involved with. So I've got a real executive resume. I mean, you know, I'm just not coming out of nowhere. I can do this job. And you see all the things that I've been involved in, you know, the FBI Infogard Group, the Homeland Security, Rotary Club president. I should get the Rotary vote. if they would just go look at my website, I get the Rotary vote. There's a lot of Rotarians in the state. So I got a real executive resume. I can do the lieutenant governor, job easy, and I'm going to really focus on areas and make something happen. I'm not there to collect a paycheck. And God forbid anything happened to the governor, Stacey, I could step right in. I honestly believe I'm the most qualified candidate right now running for any of those positions, but definitely for lieutenant governor. My resume fits perfectly with the job responsibilities, and I've got the plan, I've got the creativity. I've published 14 books. They're mostly novels, but my creativity is off the charts. I am always thinking 5 steps ahead, like Trump. He plays 4-dimensional chess. Well, my mind works that way. I'm not stuck here. I'm looking over there. How do we make it happen? And what can we do? That's how I am.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Go to voteforventry.com and find out for yourselves. Get behind the candidates that support your values, because Pennsylvanians need good leadership. So thank you so much for coming on the show, John.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Uncle Trump has one shot, one opportunity to stop the death of America. One moment with the freedom of vengeance. What do she win, y'all? Vivek's palms are sweaty, his next big job gets heavy. There's curry on his sweater already, mom's tandoori. He's nervous, but DOD is getting order ready to drop bombs, cause he gon' got the fat with Betty. He goes down, DC crowd cries so loud. He opens his mouth, the words of fire just come out. They choking now, we the people joking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, blast. Snap back, DOD, Elon, they spin